Hey, what up, guys? So we're gonna start all the number 4s now in every division of boxing. This one, the what's next, is on Ray Vargas, the undefeated WBC Super Bantamweight champion. That's 122 pounds. Vargas hasn't fought since July of last year when he made, excuse me, guys, sorry, when he made a mandatory defense of his title against, Jesus, I forget the guy's name now. It's I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that, but he fought, I don't want to get the guy's name wrong. It was a Japanese contender. He was the interim champion, and Vargas just pretty much outworked him like he normally does. Avoided a big toe-to-toe rumble, outworked him, got a clean unanimous decision, and retained the title. So that was, I believe, his 5th or 6th straight title defense, successful title defense, and he is now in line to, I think he's in optional mode right now because that was a mandatory defense, but it's been a while. He's been out of the ring for a while. I think he was having promotional issues, and he left Golden Boy and is now with the PBC. So starting his career over, the rumor was that he could be facing former Bantamweight champion Emmanuel Rodriguez next. They were talking about making that fight, but when the coronavirus hit, haven't heard anything since. So, let's run through the top 10 and see what's next for undefeated WBC champion Ray Vargas. We start with number 1, a unification bout against IBF WBA super champion Murajan Akhmadiev. Excuse me. That guy looks like he's in mandatory mode to face Ryosuke Iwasa next. So Iwasa's the IBF interim champion, so this one doesn't look possible. Number 2 is former unified champ Daniel Roman. Now, even though these guys are with rival promotions, this could end up being a mandatory title fight because Roman is the WBC's number 1 ranked contender. Now, Vargas, though, I don't believe he wants to face a guy like Roman, especially when he's in optional mode. He doesn't want to make another mandatory unless he has to. I don't believe this fight's going to happen. I don't think Vargas wants a test like Roman. I think Roman might face him, but Roman might also be leaning towards getting back in line for a rematch with Akhmadiev after he's done with the mandatory against Iwasa. So I'm leaning towards the less likely on this one, but you never know. It could happen, but I'm leaning towards the less likely. Number 3 is reigning WBO champion Emmanuel Navarrete. Not going to happen here. These guys mention each other's names, but one's with the PBCs, the other guy's with Top Rank and ESPN, and it's just not going to happen between these two. So I don't see it. Number 4 is Vargas. Number 5 is Ryosuke Iwasa of Japan. Iwasa is the IBF's interim champion and mandatory challenger to the unified title that Murajan Akhmadiev holds. They are most likely going to collide in next, almost for sure. So I don't see Vargas and Iwasa facing each other. Number 6 is Azat Havanasi and a rematch with him. Definitely not going to happen. I don't think Vargas wants anything to do with Havanasian. After their first fight when Havanasian broke his jaw and almost knocked him out, Vargas was able to hold on and outwork Havanasian to a close but deserving unanimous decision. But it was close, and Havanasian really put it on Vargas. So I don't think Vargas wants to see him again. And then now Vargas is with PBC and Havanasian is still with Golden Boy, and those two promotions don't work together unless the fight's mandatory. And this one, it's not. So not seeing this one. He's number 6, he's number 6. Next at number 7 is undefeated WBA regular champion Brandon Figueroa. Now, I think this fight's possible later on in the year, but not going to happen next. Figueroa is facing Ronnie Rios in a mandatory title fight, so that's not going to happen, but hopefully sometime later in the year. Number 8 is his current WBA gold champion or former world title challenger, whatever you want to call him, Ronnie Rios. This will be a rematch. Not going to happen. Even if Rios were to upset Brandon Figueroa, it wouldn't happen, because Rios has Figueroa next. Plus, it'd be Golden Boy working with PBC. Again, unless it's mandatory, it's not likely. Number 9 is Inuit Baluta. This guy came out of nowhere, upset TJ Doheny in March before the pandemic set in and everything got canceled. I think it's possible the PBC could invite him over to the States to challenge for a title. Vargas has faced guys that have pulled off upsets before, so I wouldn't completely rule this fight out. I'm leaning towards a no, but PBC usually likes to keep in-house and face off against names. But again, Vargas hasn't been opposed to facing upset-minded guys before, so I think the fight's possible. And then finally at number 10 is former IBF champion TJ Doheny. I'm not seeing this one. Doheny's a good fighter, but he's just coming off the loss to Baluta. I'm not sure Doheny, even though it's a world title fight, would want to go straight into a title fight. And then I don't think Vargas would really want to face him next because, Doheny lost his last fight, and they're bringing in a guy from a different promotion to fight. So I'm just not seeing this one. So that's it. That's the top 10. What do I think Vargas is going to do next? I think the PBC is going to stick with having him face somebody like Emmanuel Rodriguez next, who's a veteran but shouldn't beat him, but you never know. But I think they're going to have him face him next ahead of to see what else could happen, because right now Ryosuke Iwasa has worked with the PBC the last couple fights. He's likely facing Mirajan Akhmadiev for the unified title. If he pulls off the upset, which is likely, I mean, he's a live underdog, he might be willing to work with the PBC again to unify belts, so that's an option. And then the other big option is Brandon Figueroa. Figueroa's got Ronnie Rios next in a mandatory fight. If he beats Rios, retains the title, then that could be a unification between him and Vargas because they're both with the PBC. So I think that's what Vargas is going to do. He's been out of the ring a while. By the time he comes back, it's probably going to be over a year. So he's just going to, keep it optional. Maybe a mandatory after that with Daniel Roman or a big fight. But that's what I think he's loading up for. Optional mode to load up for a bigger fight later in the year or early in 2021. All right, guys, that's the what's next on Ray Vargas, the current undefeated WBC Super Bantamweight champion and my number 4 fighter at Super Bantamweight 122. All right, True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.